Hi, this is GILA. There has been heartfelt and compelling criticism on videos put out by various Israelis of the Israeli Green Pass program, complaining that Israelis are effectively being forced to be vaccinated against their wills. If they refuse the vaccine, Israelis are now barred from many indoor social activities which are being opened up to those who have been vaccinated or have had COVID, such as swimming and eating out in restaurants. If you take the vaccine, there is much that is unknown about its long-term effects, and Israelis are effectively being used as guinea pigs in an experiment where all our medical data is being given to Pfizer in return for a fast and effective vaccination drive. My husband was concerned and he refused to take the vaccine. I wanted to take it and I got the first shot before I went down with COVID, and my husband got COVID from me. While fortunately we had a relatively mild bout of this highly contagious disease, and I'm not quite sure how I got it, but it was probably quite easy maybe from a child I got too close to, maybe from just touching the door handle of our apartment block and not washing properly afterwards. I really don't know. But it was nevertheless unpleasant. The virus not only attacked our lungs, and personally I suffered from a little difficulty breathing for at least a couple of days, which was somewhat scary, but it also attacked us wherever there were physical vulnerabilities. And it was definitely weird and unusual. Losing my sense of smell was bizarre, though fortunately I soon got it back. And there were also debilitating, long-lasting after effects, most notably fatigue. But as a result, my husband and I now have a green pass, which is valid until the end of June in Israel. What happens then, I have no idea. But we have already enjoyed eating out inside a restaurant, while those people with children who aren't being vaccinated or who didn't have a green pass themselves had to eat outside. And last week I went swimming for the first time in a year, and it was really nice. And after recording this, I'm heading off to the pool again, along with my green pass. Now, I'm not at all surprised that anyone who's excluded from getting a green pass because they refuse to take the vaccine would be very upset that they're still under more of a lockdown than the rest of us. But nevertheless, I do have to ask, what's the realistic alternative? Israel is a small country, and most of its citizens living in towns or cities are in apartment blocks, in close physical proximity to one another. Should we all continue not being able to mix socially and recreationally indoors for the sake of the minority of Israelis who refuse to be vaccinated? Sure, there are a lot of unknowns about the Pfizer and other vaccines, but then, frankly, there are a lot of unknowns about COVID-19 itself. Most authorities are surely doing their best to cope with what they know now, trying to prevent the spread of this unpleasant and highly contagious disease, which has already killed over 2 million people in the world and has left many others with long-term debilitating after effects. There is evidence that some people have personality changes after COVID, that it can cause brain damage or long-lasting physical problems. Some people are still fatigued and have not regained their sense of smell many months after their infection. And even the experts, who don't necessarily agree amongst themselves anyway, don't really know who is at risk of serious long-term after effects or of dying from COVID, and those who may not even have any symptoms at all, or at worst a few sniffles. The Green Pass system in Israel is an attempt to allow those people who are either immune from COVID, extremely unlikely to catch it, or at worst would have only mild symptoms if they are part of the 5% of fully vaccinated people who still can catch it, to live lives more normally once more. And of course there is some pressure to persuade people to get vaccinated if they want to re-enter society and collective activities indoors or be involved in certain professions. But whatever the unknowns or potential dangers of being vaccinated, I've no doubt that getting COVID is actually far worse. It's highly contagious, has some dangerous mutations which are apparently worse, and having recently had COVID myself, as an Israeli, I would far rather have the vaccine and any unusually mild and brief after effects from the shots any day. And while my husband and I had it relatively mildly, 2 younger, fitter and stronger people in our family were hospitalised because of breathing difficulties thanks to COVID. And sadly, an uncle of mine in England lost a son and a daughter-in-law, both middle-aged, who died from COVID last year. No one is physically forcing anyone to be vaccinated. Sure, vaccination is effectively being persuasively encouraged, but it is still a personal choice. You do have the right to refuse to take it. But like all personal choices, there are consequences. And as we all gain more knowledge about this weird and unusual coronavirus, and personally, I have no real doubt it was at least partially created in a Wuhan lab and then escaped, the concerns about personal liberty versus protection of society as a whole will, I hope, become both clearer to deal with and easier to accept. Thank you so much for listening. You're welcome to post your comments so long as they are respectful below. Thank you.